Florence, let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
Oh, my God. Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. And your parents, they lived there. Where did they come from?
Russia, both.
Both from Russia?
Yeah.
When did they emigrate?
I don't know. But they valued being Americans. They went to school to learn English immediately. They read the American papers. They were so proud.
Did they speak Russian at home? Never.
They spoke... No, they spoke English. How did
English?
they know
Yiddish?
that? A little, when they didn't want us to understand.
Sure. Yeah, like my house, too. Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have a brother and a sister who unfortunately passed away very young.
Were they older, younger? What child were you?
I was the middle child.
All right. And you grew up in Brooklyn?
And I did okay as a middle child.
Where did you go to college?
At Brooklyn College.
Oh, you stayed home.
I stayed home.
And what did you study there?
English and literature, and psychology. So stretch out, and I'll tell you how to solve all your problems. Which, by the way, happens in the bookstore. If I could digress, there's something about a bookstore that makes everybody very comfortable, and they unburden themselves, and they tell me their problems. I tell them exactly what to do. And they come back.
Well, they must have followed you.
They come back.
What did your parents do?
And my father had a factory for children's dresses, a manufacturer.
Oh.
And my mother, of course, raised her wonderful children.
And you have husband and children of your own.
God bless them, yes.
Your husband is Art Shay?
Art Shay, and if you know anything about photography at this point, you say, Art Shay? You're married to Art Shay? I got so sick of it, I say, as a matter of fact, he's married to Florence Shay. So we work it out.
That's what we say in the book business, positively. Well, how and when did the book bug bite you?
I think it always did. I was always a reader. It was, goes back to when your mother says, turn off the light and go to sleep. See, I have a flashlight that you read with under the covers. But
what did you read? What did you read when you were under the covers?
Nancy Drew and all the children's series. I can't claim to have read Bronte or anything like that, no.
Yeah. So that was the book bug, but here we are sitting in titles. And how did titles begin? I know that it has been a fixture here in Highland Park for years.
40 years, right.
40?
I think 40. We may be the or one of the oldest retail establishments still running. But people find us. It's not local. It could not survive on a local patronage. If you like rare books and you're in town, you find me.
How did you come up with the name titles? Were there other names you were thinking of?
What could be more? I don't know. At that moment, it seemed very clever.
And why a bookshop? How did you do that?
Well, way back, women did volunteer work. And I heard that Women's American Art was going to open a used bookstore. So intrigued, I went in just out of curiosity. And they were setting up the shelves. They were putting books on the shelves. And the lady they hired had a bookstore in New York. So there was an immediate affinity there. Mm-hmm. And I just loved it. I helped her put the books on the shelves as a volunteer. And we met a lot of the book dealers who would hit all us used bookstores and not know what we were doing. And I remember specifically Van Allen Bradley, who used to write a column on collectible books. He bought a book, and he said, anytime you find first edition Tarzans again, call me. So we got a stack in, and we called him, and he came running over, and he said, these aren't first editions, these are Grasset and Dunlap. And we were like, oh, yeah. So we got very smart. I did the library. That's way back before the internet. So you go to the library and you read the auction records, you read catalogs, and it was wonderful. So I said, I'm sick of looking at the same Book of the Month Club books. Every carton we open that's donated, the same books. Let's go into business and buy the finer books. And that's what we did. Being book smart helped too, so you recognize what you've seen. It was a good training being in a thrift shop bookstore. You got to recognize the very ordinary books, so your eyes pass right over it when you see it. That's how we started. So then,
now you have said, and I'll quote you, I buy oddball books that appeal to me personally, thinking someone else might share my quirky taste, and it works. So that's what your shop is. Instead of you representing the books represent you. I like that.
Interesting. I say I only buy what I understand and like too, so you won't find much ancient history. Oh, I still don't understand it, or politics, but if it's offbeat and curious, there's always, especially with the internet now, you list it and you get orders from countries you didn't know even existed. Well, everybody knows that geography was not strong with me. So I sold to an Arab country, I can't remember, and I was astonished it was not an American name, which I expect. So it's exciting. You never know where the next order will come from.
Or who walks into the shop.
And yeah.
Who were your mentors in the early days in the shop here?
God, that goes so far back. Who? Ungrateful me? I can't think of a name.
You know, part of your mentoring, I guess, is what you said, the thrift shop, and learning there. And other book dealers. Terry Tanner was in at that time. The girls were here. Oh,
well, they had... Gee, that's even older than me. They had given it to Terry
Hamill and Barker. You came in when Terry had taken it over?
Yeah. And I think we used to... Well, that was another book. The Midwest Book Hunters. At the beginning, I said, let's get together, have lunch, and exchange information, unless it intrudes on your business. And Terry said, no, because when you're in the business, you'll have a customer and you'll buy from me. So it enhances it. So.
Who were the colleagues that you got together with at these that led to Midwest? Tom Joyce,
Tom and Terry.
Tanner.
Remind me.
I'm trying to remember myself. It goes back 40 years. I'm with you on that.
Oh, God.
And some of the others, like Ben Abramson, was before both of our times. Hamill and Barker were at the beginning.
Before at times, too. I remember visiting that shop, though.
Roger Carlson, you know, in Evanston.
But he was not ABAA.
No.
But I know him.
But not all our colleagues here were, and they come in and out.
Yeah, because we used to get together, and then it sort of dwindled.
Now, tell us something about the experience you have. How many locations have you had for this shop? 2.
That's an interesting question. We were in Highland Park, even originally. But then, and mostly, I think about 30, 35 years there, and somebody bought the building and threw us all out, and he remodeled the building, and he didn't rent a thing for over a year, and we were saying, see, you shouldn't have thrown us out. But eventually they rented everything, they did better. So luckily, this was available at exactly the right time, and I love it. Everything, it's exactly the shape, so everything fit in. I made to order bookshelves fit in perfectly, and the furniture and everything. So it was just a sideways movement. We just slid in here, and I was happy that we were able to stay in Highland Park.
Are there any specific collections that you handled that you remember with excitement? Anything that stands out, or a favorite book or two that you've handled that stands out?
I think each one was an adventure. And then being here long enough established me so that if anybody has books, it reminds me we were at a big event where nobody knows each other. You come up, you put out your hand, you say, I'm whatever, and you exchange a few social. And a lady, and I'm very hard of hearing, with hearing aids, but if you're in a noisy environment, it booms. So I took out my hearing aid, and you talk to people from their expression. If they smile, you smile. They look sad, you look sad. So I'm talking to a lady, and I'm smiling, I'm looking sad, I'm reflecting her image. And when she's gone, I said to Art, what did she say? She said, her husband died. She's got a big house full of wonderful books where I like to come. I said, did you get her name?
Did you get the books?
I didn't get out there yet. So, but that's pretty much, you get so that you could scan the wall and you know which are the fine books, and then you gamble on the ones you don't know. So I don't know. I can't think of anything in particular.
You know, we're sitting at your desk here at Titles, where I've come in and seen you a gazillion times, mainly with my dog. And I'm sitting in a chair that many, many people have sat in across from you and chatted with you for hours on end. Can you tell me of some of the collectors that have come in?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. First of all, I want you to see Joseph Heller, who wrote Catch-22.
Yes, there's a photograph.
Kissing Me.
Yes, there's a photograph of Joseph Heller.
Yes.
Another one of David Mamet.
David Mamet didn't kiss me. Joseph Heller Kiss Me gets top billing. I had a correspondence going with Joseph Heller. I wrote him. I never wrote to anybody. I wrote him a postcard about something happened, and he wrote back, and he wanted to acknowledge it, but he said he doesn't write to his fans. I wrote back, and I said, I'm delighted with your answer. I didn't expect you. So he wrote back. The postcard I framed that he wrote to me is where he said, what a delightful writer I am. So that got framed.
That's
let's see, B.J. Armstrong, a basketball player.
From the Bulls.
Yes, and he bought smart books, psychology, philosophy, and he said he can't hang out with the players. All they want to do is talk about sports.
But there was more to life than that
and
for him.
who else? Somebody came in, and he stacks up poetry books, and he's got a friend's teenager with him, and I'm looking at the books, and I say condescendingly, oh, you read poetry, that's very nice. And he nods, and I said, do you write poetry? He said, yes. And the little girl is giggling, and I said, have you had anything published? And he says, yes. I said, would I know them? And he looks at me and he said, nah. So then I call it, he leaves, and I look at his check and I call it my son, and I said, who's William Corgan? He said, Billy Corgan was in your store smashing pumpkins. I said, oh. And he came back to the store, and he's looking again, and he brings us, I said, I know who you are, you're smashing pumpkins. Now I know who you are. So he came again, and I figured, I'm always fussing now. Oh, hi, and I figured maybe he wants to be alone. So he brings his books up, and he said, are you mad at me? I said, no, why? He said, you didn't say hello or anything. I said, I was protecting your privacy.
Yeah.
He said, no, I come in because I want to visit. So we've become very good friends. And he started to collect arts photos. Mm-hmm. So he loves us both, and of course we both love him. He's very, very smart. Go figure.
To be successful in anything, you need to be smart.
He's articulate, he reads. We love him.
When people come into my shop, they ask me, what do I collect? I say, I collect you, my clients. What do you collect?
Oh, actually, well, aside from my signed Catch-22, signed to me personally, I like first editions of authors that like Audrey Niffenegger. I loved her. My favorite book, Traveler. Well, anyway, yeah. So if I read a book and I love it, I try to get it in first edition signed. But I'm not fanatic. I'm not fanatic about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might feel like I do too, that the bookshop is your collection.
As a matter of fact, they're all mine until you buy it. It's mine.
That's right.
Yeah, but I'm thinking at home I have pop-ups. Not very literary or intellectual. I love pop-ups.
I love dust jackets, and that's what I have at home.
And so I have a lot of pop-ups.
You have run and made a success, I believe, of at least 2 ABAA shows here in Chicago. How did that come about?
Well, they have an international book show in New York and in California alternate years, and I thought, why not Chicago? So I brought it up at a board meeting, and everybody said, if you get somebody to run it. So I said, I'll do it. So I was chairman, I developed it, and I ran it year after year.
Yes, you did.
Until it was rolling on its own very well. And then, I don't even remember how many years, because it was every other year.
I think you ran at least 3 that I remember.
Oh, there are far more than 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there were more than 3. And we were on roll. The good thing is I understand PR, and my whole family's involved with journalism, so we knew everybody out there with newspapers and magazines. So we'd get in touch, and I knew how to present what was happening, what great book we could focus on, and I would present a very polished. So the PR was spectacular for our shows. We always had a wonderful response. But I don't remember how many years, because every other year.
It was every other year.
Yes, and it was on a roll. It was like I worked with a professional woman who did the contracts and the money. All I had to do was make sure everybody was happy, and they came in. And it was a very good show. We ran it for... Well, somebody said to me, Florence, it was your baby. You brought it along. Now it's going. Give somebody else a chance to be chairman.
You said that another dealer told you that.
Really? It's like... And so I very, very graciously retired. And, of course, there was nobody to take over. And it died. But it had a very good long run. That I am very proud of.
Yeah. You should be, and we all are unhappy that you stepped down, frankly, because we needed your expertise and your work.
I would be running it up to this minute, doubtfully.
Now, you also had a cable TV show.
Yes.
So you didn't not just sit behind your desk here. You got out.
And then...
Tell me about the show. When was that, and how long did it run?
It ran for as long as that man in charge was in charge then. When he got, I don't remember, at least a year. And I would bring books and explain why this is good and why this isn't good. I was very, very serious about educating. Like a lady came in and said, aha, I gotcha. She shows me 2 identical books, and one is like, I don't know, $30, and the other one is $75 or $80. I said, I could have made a mistake. And I look at it and I said, this one is signed. So she says, so what? Now, that kind of person, you can, the author had it in his hands. He had it but it meant nothing. So that person, forget, you'll never get him for a customer. So, but I try to be nice. And when they bring in their books, I try to be very nice. And I don't say garbage. Or I explain why it's not wonderful.
Yeah, well, education is wonderful, and you were on the forefront of doing that with that TV show, Positively. You also have an internet presence for the shop.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can't sell books just to the local. Right now, I'm every book gets on the internet.
Yeah,
but then you know what happens? They want a big fat book, and the shipping is $45 or $60, and the book is $30. So that doesn't. They say no, but the shipping charges are very high.
You run a bit of a blog on your...
No, my blog is for fun. That's my own.
Well, it's very idiosyncratic, your internet for the shop. It's you. It's an extension of you. And your family as well.
Yeah, well, I do it when there's something entertaining. That's right, it's shop-related. If anecdotal, about nice people, usually it's about rotten people.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I saw on a couple of internet sites a couple of reviews of the shop here, the titles. And one said, and I'll quote, "A wonderful little used bookstore that's wonderful for browsing. Don't go here looking for anything specific. Go instead to find something you didn't know you were looking for."
Isn't that nice? I hate that they encourage you to browse. If you don't have money in your pocket, don't come in. No, I shouldn't say that. I should say, everybody welcome. Just don't touch my books unless you think you're going to buy it.
Now, this person who said don't go looking for anything specific, I then saw on your site in one of those blogs of yours, those letters of yours, about the mystical book. A woman came in and was looking for a specific arithmetic book.
That was astonishing. And it happens. And other people have suggested there's something very mystical about books, and I believe it. She wanted an arithmetic book she had when she was in 4th grade so she could show it to her granddaughter. I said, I don't have arithmetic books. She said, it was a soft cover book that you write your answers. I said, I don't have school books. I don't have arithmetic books. But so she drifts around, and she comes up and puts something on the table, and like it was not a miracle, and this is the book. That's what she was looking for. I didn't know I had it. It said to her, here I am. And it's really...
So you could come in here and look specifically for
this is very much
something.
a miracle. Books have, I wrote that in a blog, I guess. I got a letter from India. God knows how he got my blog. And he said they've had experiences where they're more mystical than I am. And he said that the soul of the writer was... All right, but he agreed that they were mystical all the way in India. So now I believe it.
Another review I found, a young woman, I think, lovingly wrote, quote, "It reminds me, your shop, it reminds me of my grandmother's house," unquote. And your website's like that, as I said. It's full of family, kids coming and going. Art, your husband, with his photography, and the shop is that with. It's a very homey atmosphere, and I can see why people want to come and just sit with you.
That happens. I do encourage it. I say it's a salon also. We sit and we chat, and when people are back in town, like Thanksgiving or Christmas, they always stop in, and some of them stop in. It's very social.
What is your thought on the future of the book trade? We're all in this conversation.
It's very sad. It's very, very sad.
Do you believe books will continue on?
God, I hope so. But collecting, the people who understand the enchantment of a book, they're getting to be my age, and they're not collecting. And I don't see young people coming in who get the same excitement out of it. Like, this is a first edition, so what? It's got a gorgeous dust jacket because everybody takes a dust jacket off. It's such a nuisance. So find a perfect dust. I don't see it happening. I don't see young people replacing my elderly people. Don't ask me how old I am.
Do you still see people interested in reading, though, no?
Oh, in reading. They read on the Kindle and the Nook. I can't even read a page on the internet, on my email. I print it out if it looks long. I gotta have paper. I gotta have print. And the young people, they're always with their little things.
Well, technology is technology. So.
Listen, I had a grandchild with a friend sitting on one chair in the dining room, and one is laughing. She burst out laughter. I forget what, and I'm talking to them. I thought, what did I say? That was so funny. So she said, oh, she just texted me that my tushy is too big for the space. They're talking to each other on the same chair with their little things, and I thought I was entertaining them with my voice. That's the future? Or I should say, that's the future. That's the future?
There are, of course, unfortunately, fewer bookshops around and people going to the internet. You find the internet still lively for yourself to some extent?
Do I find the
Are they buying books through the internet through you?
Well, when we have somebody coming and looking for a book they can't locate, and they're not familiar with the internet or they don't want to be bothered, they ask us to find it. So we go right to the internet to find it. It may be something of a particular interest that you wouldn't find otherwise, but there are still people like me who don't know how to use the internet very well. So I have some very adorable, precious, wonderful young people working for me who know how to use the internet, and they'll find a book.
Have you had any book signings here by any chance? Anything?
Only Art Shay books. We're very exclusive.
They're good books.
And we do well. We always have a big party. I would, I guess, if I knew the author and thought enough of him.
And you're antiquarian, of course, and not with the trade. But sometimes we switch over.
Yeah, I haven't had a party for a long time.
Now, how did you get into some of the areas that the bookshop is in? You specialize. You don't really specialize, but you do have photography books and Chicagoana,
yes,
and
exactly.
some Americana, and some art books, and a great deal of literature.
I think you got it. Photography because of my closeness to it, so I'm always interested. Chicago is a very strong category, and when I visit other states, other towns, I hit the bookstores and look for Chicago because I know which ones are not around. So and nobody else does. I mean, you're local. You know you're local, But I love children's books, too. I also have children's books at home. And not necessarily important ones, but if you open it and you say, oh, this is so adorable, that's the kind of book. So I have a lot of children's books. And otherwise, the important fiction, and preferably signed, so that makes it a little more exclusive. I'm looking around. And leather. Oh, I love sets of leather. I think they're very comfortable. I think they're elegant. You know, the real estate market affects everything. If people are not moving, they're not selling their books. If people aren't moving into a house where everybody took their books away, they don't have empty shelves. I used to sell a lot of leather to fill up empty shelves, and now it's not moving that well, and I realize the real estate market is destroying my leather book sales.
I've heard that too, that real estate people, when they're going to sell a home, take the bookshelves out and put wall space in for a large screen TV instead.
Yeah, they call it white space, because books, the person might, well, years ago, I remember somebody had exactly that situation. They would buy the house if he took all the shelves out of the room. That was called library, and it had beautiful mahogany bookshelves. He had to take it down to the bare wall, just what you're saying. But
are there any collectors, clients that you remember specifically that have come through? Do you have any collector stories or your clients that you remember?
God, I forgot them, but there are always some when they...
Is there
there was the guy who bought all the Chicago stuff, but he wrote books about Chicago. What was his name? Aronson. Remember him? So,
did you do much with library? Did you sell much
No,
to
I
libraries?
never worked with libraries. I know there are people who connect, and libraries are glad to have a dealer who'll watch out for them. But I couldn't. I was not a good business person. If I found the books, here they are. You want to buy them? Take them. I was not good at following up that way.
But you love being in the book trade because of the people and the books and
exactly.
all of that, yes?
Yeah, I like the people who walked in. I love the books. It's a nice place to be. A psychiatrist said that when he's very agitated from overwhelming patients, he went into his library. He said he didn't have to open a book. He didn't have to touch it. Just sitting there comforted him. So, hey, I'm comforted every day.
And did you at all try to take books in that you knew your clientele would like, or did the clientele kind of push you towards certain areas?
Yes, definitely. You get to recognize somebody asks for this. Even if he doesn't come in that awful, it's nice to have it. So when he walks in, he finds something different. But I don't call him up and say, oh, look what we have for you, we just found. I put it on a shelf. If he comes in and finds it, the extra thrill. I'm telling you, we're not good at business. We just are here because we love it.
Well, there's not much to say about books over that, you know. we love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to talk about on the trade? I know you made a few notes.
Well,
Is there anything that you wanted to
it.
say anything about the trade and being with ABAA and the membership?
I was always very proud to be ABAA. It's on my letterhead. It was on my business card. I mentioned it whenever I could. I thought it gave me stature and credibility. And I'm grateful for the ABA for I joined the minute I was eligible. Got to be chairman of a local chapter as well. To me, it was an important part of the book business.
Did you use AB Weekly when that was
our
technology?
Right. That was way back. Yes, of course.
That was a different trade then, no?
Yes, that was fun too. But remember the auction record books in the library and Bookman's Price Index, pre-internet where you get it all.
What do you think that has done as far as people coming to shops? They don't have to as much now. They can just sit at home and go on the internet and shop. Have you found that impinging here?
Yeah, and I found that everybody says the same thing. People browse the shop, even like this, and they want to see the book, and they want to touch it, and they want to see if it's something they want, and then they have their little thing, and they look it up and see if they could find it on the internet. And that's... When I go on the internet, I try to match the current price and consider the condition. If somebody has it with a torn dust jacket, mine is gorgeous, mine has a greater value. But people are comparison shopping at the store and buying on the internet. Yeah, we're very cranky about that.
Now, where did that kiss with Joseph Heller take place?
Well, Joseph, as I said, I wrote a postcard. He wrote a postcard back.
There it is.
And we had a little correspondence going. Then I read he was going to sign in Chicago. So my husband took me, and he's ready with his camera. And the first picture shows Joseph Heller signing my book. And the second picture is where it said, "Joe, I'm Florence." So he jumped up and he grabbed me and he pulled me to it, gave me a big fat kiss, and my personal photographer caught it. So that was very thrilling. All right. So then, talk about mystical. There was a party at the Playboy for him. He invited me. It was a weekend. I had to be in New York, so I couldn't go to this party. So I'm walking down this long corridor at the New York airport, and walking towards me is Joseph Heller, who's going to his Chicago appointment. I couldn't believe it. So I said, "Joseph, I can't get to your party because I have to be here." So he recognized me, which was thrilling. He kissed me again, but I didn't have a photographer with me to catch that one.
So I'm not going to ask if something happened.
Yeah.
Did you do other ABAA shows besides Chicago? Did you go out to New
Yes,
York?
occasionally. It was so hard to do those shows. You have to pack up. I hated leaving empty shelves. I did a few, but I went as a guest to tried to go to a lot of them as an education also, and to become familiar. Like, Ed Glazer, he's an old timer. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anybody. I think I'm older than anybody. It was only my vanity that allowed me to, because I didn't want to be out of the archives. But I'm thinking, do I want to see me so old? I used to be so young.
Did you have contact with many of the ABA dealers around the country looking for books for a customer at all? Did you ever do that, or did you have contact with them outside the fairs?
No.
Mm-hmm. Did they come through here as they traveled?
Anybody who was in Chicago would come in. That was always nice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Florence, I've enjoyed this immensely being with you. Is
Thank
there anything
you.
you would like to say about your shop that we've not covered, and about your own life in the trade that we may have missed?
No, I think you got it all. And it's been a good life. And the books have helped make it a very good life.
You would do it again if you started out?
I think I'd like to make some money. I would. The second time around, I'd try to make some money. But I'd still. It's great. Yeah, it was a good life, and the ABA was a big part of it.
Yeah, the ABA is a big part of it for all of us. Florence Shay, thank you so much for sitting down with us for the ABAA.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that was easy. Oh, that was fun.